What is up, Metaverse? You know what? I like saying that. I like saying that much better than Facebook Live or, what is up live, social media. I like saying Metaverse. I don't know why. I just like it better. Wanted to go over a couple things with you and so out of the clear blue sky, I'm sitting in a meeting. The marketing department here at NRL is expanding. It is absolutely amazing. They've made a lot of changes here for the better, in my opinion. We've got some people in that know what it is. They know systems. They know better systems. So I'm really walked away from that really happy, really excited with that. But as I'm in this meeting and we're closing it up, all of a sudden my phone rings, and it is someone that I have been friends with for roughly, I guess, about, 35, 37 years. Buddy of mine, met him when we were street racing. That's how long ago this was. So we were like 16, 17 years old. And at the time, I'm trying to remember, I don't know, what did I have at that time? I think it was my Trans Am. I think it was when I had my 77 black on black T-top Trans Am, and Dwayne had one of those Mustang 2s that he had just poured a ton of money in, a lot of work to it. Anyway, so he calls me up. I was the best man at his wedding way back, in the late 80s, early 90s, something like that. So anyway, he calls me up, and I haven't heard from him in quite some time. And he has now moved into the SeaTac area up in the Pacific Northwest and is looking to buy a home. He had moved from Houston, went to Phoenix, Arizona, couldn't stand it. 362 days of nothing but sunshine, no rain, no greenery, nothing like that. Moved to Colorado Springs, and now he's up in the Pacific Northwest, and he, so far loves it. But the reason he called is the housing market is just insane. There is like it is everywhere, and he is a little worried. He said, look, here's what's going on, and I just want to know what the truth is, what's going on in the market. And he said, a house that we're looking at, the asking price on it $650. We know we're going to have to pay at least $800 to get it. What I'm worried about is, am I going to pay $800 now, and in 2 years it's going to be worth $500? And he said, because 2 years ago it was worth $400, now they're asking $650, blah blah blah, all those things. And he said, can you give me anything? And so it hit me hard, because this is somebody who's been, a friend of mine for years. Like I said, I was the best man at his wedding, and I said, look, I can't tell you what's going on with the economy. I can't tell you what's going on with Ukraine. I can't tell you with what's going on with this guy that you voted for, blah, blah, blah. But what I can tell you is this. I can tell you that we're 4 million plus homes behind right now, which means if we had 4 million homes drop and hit the ground today, we would only slow the market down for about 90 days, and we'd be back in the same position that we're in. I can tell you that the people that I follow and watch and pay attention to, like Barry Habib, that I know that the most we've ever built in this nation is 2 million homes in a year, and we're over 4 million homes behind. I can tell you that there's 14 million new formations, which means 2 people forming a new household, that there's 14 million of those sitting basically in wait for a property. And if you add up all those numbers and look at everything, it's just, without knowing and being able to read the future and things like that, I just don't see it. I don't see that an $800,000 house is going to be a $600,000 house or a $500,000 house. What I can see is that $800,000 house instead of being worth 900 next year, is only going to be worth 850. I can see that, but we are so far behind, and the innovations that have been brought to the housing industry have not been adopted, have not taken off well, even though they should. 3D houses, without me ever going and physically seeing one and just looking at videos and pictures, that's something that needs to take off yesterday. We've got a ton of concrete. I know that the National Association of Home Builders is fighting with the White House right now to get tariffs down on building materials. That's something that's necessary. But I just don't see it. Mathematically, I do not see how it's possible for home values to go backwards. I do see how it's possible for valuations not to increase like they have over the past 3 years. But I do not see how it's possible. So that got me to thinking, when I gave him these numbers, everybody in the mortgage and the real estate industry has these numbers or access to these numbers, to this data, or to people who have them. Everybody on here can sign up with MBS Highway today, mbshighway.com, or reach out to Dan Abib and get signed up on MBS Highway. But you've got access to all of this. We need to do a better job. Not that we're doing a bad job. We just need to do a better job of relaying this information. I keep seeing these, I say stupid, it's probably ignorant posts. People say, we're in a bubble. We're not in a bubble. It's not possible. We are so far behind. We have so many people waiting. It is not a bubble. If anything's a bubble, it is a bubble of home buyers trying to get a freaking property. So one of the things I wanted to go over is talk about a little bit of, we need to educate. We need to help people. We need to get that information out there and help people. And I think every mortgage guy, every real estate guy that's paying attention to this needs to do that. That's our job. That's something that we need to do, as opposed to just calling on referral partners and so forth. We need to do a better job with that. That's something that we must do, and I'm challenging you guys to do that. No, we're not in a housing bubble. We need to educate people. We need to tell them what the true stats, what all of that is. The other thing, I got this one a couple of days ago. We know this. We've known this for years. Even in any kind of downtime, any kind of recession period, anything like that, real estate has always been one of the greatest investments that there is. There's people that'll argue that on both sides, but I would rather be on the side that owns real estate, whether that is commercial, whether that is dirt, whether that is a home, whether it's multifamily, whatever it is. I would rather be on the side that owns that real estate than I would be on the side that rents it. So the question that was brought to me is, I only have about 8 years left till I retire. I bought my house as an investment. Do you think it's still going to appreciate? Do you still think it's going to be there when I get there? Again, same thing as before. My personal opinion, yeah, it is. It has to, with the data that we are provided, with the data that we can see and seek, we don't have. So here's some things that I could see, without knowing anything with a war, without knowing anything about, what crazy people are going to do with the economy or blockchain or any of that. What I can tell you is, if you look at 8 years out, and with as many houses as we are behind now, what we're building, how many permits are being pulled, it would take something drastic, which has happened, but I just don't see it. We have so much over-regulation in this country. I feel sorry. I feel bad for these people that are risking their money to try and build new neighborhoods, to try and build new multifamily, things like that. We've got so much overregulation, and we put people in jobs and built jobs just for the hell of it. But I can tell you that, yeah, I still believe it without a shadow of a doubt, and I am not afraid one bit to buy real estate, and I do believe that it's still going to be your best investment. I do think appreciation will slow down. It's not plausible for it to stay like it has been. Will we lose that value? No, I don't think so. Is it possible that some people overpaid? Yeah, that's very possible. Is it possible you overpaid so much that you won't see any kind of increase in valuation for the next couple of years? Yep, that's possible. I see that. So just because you paid $700,000 for something that max is worth $600,000, yeah, it's going to take you a little bit of time to get there. When I tell people, I give advice on this. I was telling my buddy this. $250,000 house, you have to bid $265 on it to get it. It's in an appreciation market that's 15-18%. You figure out how many months that is. Okay, in 7 months, it's going to be worth $265. So yeah, I'm not really out anything, because in 7 months, it's going to be there. And the positive arbitrage between what my interest rate is and the valuation, that's something that's going to be there. Always look at whether you're in a negative or positive arbitrage on your numbers. But yeah, I think that it's still going to be there. It's still going to be there whenever you go to retire. Think about it. It would take somehow, the most we've ever built in this country is 2 million homes. Somehow somebody would have to put 10 plus million homes on the ground to make anything like that happen. 4 million homes would only make it just dip for months, not even years. So I think so. Also, we need to be positive. We need to tell people, explain to people, help them more to understand these terms, to understand, the Fed raised interest rates by 50 basis points today. What does that mean? I'm going to bet the greater majority of people who aren't in our business don't know what basis points are. So explain to them what basis points, what does that even mean? And what is it that the Fed raised money on? I see these horrible television commercials and these horrible, posts that people are putting up, and they're saying things like what it just did to your car loan and what it just did to your home loan and all of those things. Here's what the Fed interest rate is. So there's this weird thing, and I don't understand enough about it, but I know a little bit about it, where banks only have to have a certain amount of their deposits on hand. What does that mean? So my understanding is it's 90% that they can loan out. They only have to have 10%. So that means if a bank has $100 million in deposits, they're allowed to loan out $90 million. They only have to have $10 million cash on hand to be able to, stay in compliance. So where does that money go? Sort of like in that movie, It's a Wonderful Life. The bank loans your money to Bob, who buys a car, and to Sue, who buys a boat, and to Joe, who buys a second home. That's where the money really is. And we've got to do a better job of explaining this. So when the Fed raises the overnight rate, is what it raised, by 50 basis points, what that means is how much does it cost for a bank to borrow money from another bank. So if Bank A is worth $100 million, it only has $10 million in deposits, it doesn't have enough money to invest in anything else. So let's say Bank A wants to buy $10 million worth of car loans, auto loans, that are at a 7% interest rate. Well, if it's loaned out this money, it doesn't have the ability to loan anymore, to buy anymore. So what it does is it borrows money from another bank or from the Fed, and then it has a liquidity, and then it can buy more of these loans. And then it's paying this overnight Fed funds rate of X%, which was just raised by 50 basis points today. So now I believe it's at 75 basis points. So what that means is 0.75%. That it is. And my understanding is they want to raise a total of 300 basis points or 350, something like that, by year's end. So what ends up happening is what you'll end up seeing is you'll get more of a return on your deposits at the bank, things like that. Not much, but a little bit more. But it eventually rolls to everything else that the banking industry controls and handles, which means that interest rates for homes, for cars, all of that ends up going up, and you're paying more, which, believe it or not, we really need that to get this economy somewhat stable, to get back into that next, almost 7-year business cycle. So business cycles in our business run about every almost 7 years. We have to have this interest rate rise. We have to get back to some sort of normal. You can't loan money at 2% when inflation is 8%. So think about it that way. Figure out on your own what you think. I've got a lot of friends that say that it's not going to stop until the interest rate or the daily rate reaches about the same rate, mortgage rates reaches about the same rate as what inflation is. So that could be 7.5%, 8%. Who knows? If we were all soothsayers, we wouldn't be here. We'd be in Vegas making $1 Brazilian. But we need to do a better job of that in our community. Help people. That's the one thing. I actually had a loan officer here ask me the other day, tell me what it is that I can say that will help explain to people why interest rates from this year. So we've gone at the beginning of the year, I think the national average was around 3.4% on a conventional 30-year loan, and now average seems to be closer to about a 5.6, 5.8% national average across the board. So we've gone up over 3% since January. So that's a huge deal. Hasn't happened in God knows how long. But we need to explain this to people. So he asked me this. He says, how do I sell a 5% interest rate to people who saw 2% interest rates? And in my opinion, this is how you do it, or at least this is one way. If your home value is going up annually by 15% and you're borrowing money at 5%, that's a 10% positive arbitrage that you're making on your money. This is exactly how banks make their money. They borrow money at a small percentage, they put a margin in for themselves, and that's how they make money. You would be doing the same thing. You'd be counting yourself as the bank. You are paying a small interest rate of 5%, while your asset that you bought is increasing in value at 10%, 15%, whatever that is for your area. So that's a positive 5%, positive 10% that you're making on what it is that you're buying on your asset. Anybody who studies compound interest can figure this out pretty quickly. It's one hell of a ride. It's going to be one hell of a profit margin for you if you do this. Barry Habib explains it much better when he says things like, if you bought a house last year and you put 5% down on that house and it gained 15% year over year, then in reality, what you made on that, you made over 10%, or you made a margin of 75% on your investment, which is pretty freaking amazing. So keep that in mind. Anyway, For any of my friends that have reached out and spoke to my my connections with the SEO and with the grant money thing, congratulations. I think there's been about 8 or 9 of you guys that have done that. You're paying attention to what's going on. You already saw the value in it, which is pretty amazing. And just reach out, let me know how that's going for you. With any of that, I'm going to sign off. Reach out, let me know anything I can do to help you. Any comments, questions, anything like that, just reach out and let me know. Tomorrow I'll be doing modern marketing. I think there's like 3 seats left. Maybe. Are there any seats left? There may be 2 or 3 seats left in Friendswood at Matt Hyde's office. And then Friday, my great friend Michael McCormick is putting on Insurance Soup in Arlington, Texas at Texas Live. And I will be on a panel Friday morning there. So reach out, anything that you need, I can help you with it. Let me know. Appreciate you guys.